What's up, everyone? Today we have Miss Samara. Now, she is a Canadian. She and her husband homeschool their kids. She's involved in high ticket sales. In this interview, man, we go everything from her story coming from a waitress into these high ticket sales. It's completely changed her life to how they incorporated it, homeschooling into it, what made her want to homeschool. All in all, I had a great conversation with her. Her energy is absolutely amazing. Beth, what do you got on this one?
I didn't even know what high ticket sales was till we talked to her. So I love that part. It was very educational. And I also loved hearing about her success story from her childhood experience with
Mhm.
financial issues and struggles to where she is now. That was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, if you're a homeschooling mom or even a homeschooling dad, this interview is going to be amazing for you. So we'll see you inside. All right, what's up, everyone? Today we got Miss Samara. If you could, Miss Samara, just give us a quick background about you. I know you're a homeschooling mom. I know you work with a lot of the people. You're in high ticket sales. If you could just give us a background about you so people can get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, totally. So very quickly, yeah, my name is Samara. I am here in Canada, so Canadian homeschool mom. Yeah, I never really thought I would be in the industry that I'm in, or even homeschooling my kids. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. But then, as I had started having children and realizing that I didn't want them to be in the public school system, and I wanted to, teach them with my values and all that sort of stuff, I really started searching for a way that I could do that, right? Because I think the problem that I see with a lot of homeschool families is that they are struggling financially because one parent, usually the mother, ends up giving up her income in order to stay home with the kids. And I just didn't want a life like that. I grew up extremely poor, broke, four siblings. We all shared a room for like 10 years. Just one of those families. We didn't have a lot. I paid for everything since I was 16 years old. I didn't want my kids to have that same childhood growing up struggling because of a choice I made. So then, anyways, craziness of 2020 rolled around. I lost my job. I was actually a waitress.
Oh,
So
no way.
yeah, so our decision as a family for me to be able to homeschool my kids was just to continue my waitressing career. So I was waitressing since I was 18, put myself through university doing that. Was working in I've also waitressing. And then when I had my kid, I was like, okay, well, I want to homeschool. I guess I'll just continue waitressing so I could work evenings. My husband could work during the day. Two ships passing in the night. We never saw each other, right? Because we really wanted this lifestyle, but then that meant that we never saw each other. So anyways, 2020 rolled around, lost my job like a lot of people did, and all the craziness that went around. And that really got me thinking and reflecting, oh my gosh, my income and my life really is in the hands of someone else, right? Because an employer can just come along and tell you you're not suited for this or just fire you in the blink of an eye. The government tells you you're not worthy of making an income during this time. So yeah, it really made me reflect. And then in that time, started thinking how I could work online, right? Because it's 2026. If you're not making an online income at this point, you really are behind the times. You should at least be having some sort of supplemental online income. So I started looking at what there was. All I saw was kind of low ticket sales, slanging products for like $5, $10 commission. Coming from a waitressing background, I did low ticket and high ticket sales. I was actually a waitress in a cafe, and then I was a waitress in a high end steak restaurant. So I saw the difference between low ticket and high ticket. At the cafe, I was working 8 hours, serving 10 tables at once, running around for like maybe $5 a table. At the steakhouse, I had four tables. It was like a higher level of service. I got to spend more time with people. And I was making $100, $200 a table. So right away, I already had that background that high ticket is going to be a bigger bang for your buck. So that's what I wanted to get into. So anyways, ended up coming across high ticket sales. Jumped right in. I was unemployed, so it wasn't exactly easy for me. I had to go get a loan. I had to go get a part-time job in order to fund my startup, and really put everything I had into it. And then, yeah, it took me a while to build my business, a good 8 months, and then suddenly my business really took off. I was making 25K a year as a waitress my first year in those 5 months at the end of the year. 8 months to take off. The last 4 months, I made 75K. And I was like, okay, this is working. And things really started spitballing and going. And now I make seven figures a year. And now I also run a training platform for other women to come in and learn high ticket sales, learn the skills, and change their lives in a similar way.
I love that. I kind of want to unpack a couple different things there. So Homeschooling in Canada. We're based in the United States. I'm in Florida. She's in Pennsylvania. What does homeschooling in Canada look like? Is it harder? Is it easier? Is there a lot of oversight? What's going on up there?
Yeah, it seems to be a little bit easier. We don't have a lot of restrictions here as much as you do, especially in the province I'm in. I'm in Manitoba, so like we don't have to do a lot. Like there's not many things that you got to do. There's no vaccine requirements if you do want to send your kids to public school, so it's not like a big thing here like it is I know for a lot of Americans where they kind of forced to homeschool. Here it's not so bad. But anyways, yeah, it's you gotta you have to send in I think yearly reports and all that
Okay.
sort of stuff. But yeah, as far as I know, Canadian compared to American, it is a little bit easier and more relaxed.
Nice, nice. Okay, now you said children. So how many kids do you have?
I have two children, so I have a son who will be 10 right away and a daughter who will be 7 right away.
Okay, all right. And now what inspired, and you said because you want to have different values, then you want to be in control of kind of what's going on. Were was it like a team effort? You and your husband both agreed? Was it one parent wanted, the other one didn't? What was that decision like? Because a lot of times you'll know the decision's
Mhm.
kind of the hardest part when it becomes to getting started than it is when you're rolling and doing it.
It is absolutely, and from what I see, it's almost always the mom who has
Yep,
that vision. I'm just generalizing, but I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds
yep,
of homeschool moms, and it's almost always the mom because we just have a different relationship with our child. We do. We literally grew them in our
yep,
bodies and fed them
yep,
with our bodies, so we kind of just know we have an inner instinct, an inner knowing of what's
yep.
best for our child that the dad just does not have. So, anyways, from what I see it is a lot harder to get the dad on board. And I do feel like dads also, they just have this idea, right? Where it's like they want to be the provider and they want to do this and that. And their life kind of wants to stay in this box. And it's harder for them to see outside of it. Again, this is just my experience. And this was my experience with my husband. I wanted to homeschool and he was against it. Again, different. I grew up in the city. He grew up small town. So he grew up in a small town school. So it was a little bit different for him. It was a little bit, it wasn't these ideologies that I don't agree with being pushed so hard in the small town public schools as it is here. So kind of trying to explain to him, well, it's not the same, even since once we went to school, things are different.
Hmm.
Pushing a lot of different things and just it's just not the same as it was when we grew up. So anyways, it kind of worked in my favor because as my son was going into kindergarten, I mean, I wouldn't have let it happen anyway. He was going to stay home, but it happened in my favor that that's literally when 2020 or 2021 rolled around and everything
Uh-huh.
shut down. So then my husband kind of started to see, oh, okay, well, I don't, they were sending kids to school with the masks and with this and that. And my husband was really against that. So we said, okay, well, great. We'll just, homeschool, see how it goes. And then we've just been homeschooling ever since.
I love that. Now, so my idea for this conversation really is because, as you said, a lot of times the mom takes the burden of staying home. She gives up the income. And as a homeschooler, because I was homeschooled my whole life, so I watched my mom do it. My dad went off work, but then we got to a point where like my dad, we couldn't live off my dad's income only, so my mom had to go back to work. Luckily for her, she was an online teacher, so she could work online. This was way before it was, kind of as big as it is now.
Yeah.
But you see a lot of times that the moms want to contribute still.
Yeah.
It's and they feel as if maybe they're a burden to the family with this decision because now everything's harder. You got her
Yep.
life is now just became 10 times harder. She has more responsibilities, she has less time, and then now also she lost the income coming from the other side of her side. So when it comes to the high ticket sales or just making money online, can you give anything to the moms that are maybe have some limiting beliefs about whether or not they're capable of doing it? If they're only just kind of programmed to I go to work 9 to 5, I come home, that's how you can only make money. Can you talk to them a little bit about the potential of working online and being able to stay home with your kids?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you bring up a really good point because, again, that's like something I see so often. And I think it's just because those conversations just aren't being had between husband and wife, like those real raw conversations where I'm going to be giving this up. What does that mean for our family? How do you see me as still contributing and really having those, I think are just so important because then this tension builds because yeah, she somehow feels like she's not contributing enough because it's not income. He somehow feels that way as well when,
Even though she's probably doing more, even
exactly, if he were to spend a day in the life,
yeah,
he would get a real slap of reality real
Yeah.
quick, right? But it is this strange idea that goes on in society where if you're not bringing in an income, then you are, yeah, a burden to your family and you're
Mhm.
not contributing, which is just so wrong. So then I do see a lot of moms and women fall into this situation where they're actually, I call it financial abuse, where then the husband is withholding finances and then, they're feeling like, well, they
Wow.
can't. Oh, it's so common. It is so common where they just can't even get out if they wanted to, because now it's this thing where, well, yeah, you're not contributing financially. The finances are mine. He's giving her some sort of weekly allowance or whatever it might be. So it can kind of spitball into an abusive situation. So, anyways, I'm a big advocate for mothers and for women in general always having their own form of income, because even if you do have the best marriage in the world, who knows what's going to happen? He could get injured, he could die,
Mhm.
something could happen, where suddenly you're left in a lurch, where if you were just to spend an hour or two every single day just building a skill and building an income, not only is it going to help your family, your children, your financial situation, but it's going to prepare you in the worst case scenario of an emergency if something were to happen. So for me, for moms, again, I just like to let moms know. I'm sure you are the homeschool mom. You're looking at your children and you're telling them every day, you you can do anything you want to do. You can, if you put your mind to it, you can like literally conquer the world. But then they turn around and they're not saying the same thing to themselves in the mirror. And I'm like, come on, like, so for me, it's just so important to not only be telling your kids this, but to also be the example and to be the role model for them and saying, I'm going to show you by example that I'm going to step out of my comfort zone here. I'm going to learn something hard. I'm going to do something scary. So, because I know you're watching me. And then one day I'm going to have these skills to pass on to you. So, for me, I just think it's so important to yeah, to not only tell your kids something, but to live it out fully and express it. So for me, that was a huge thing for me. I didn't want to just tell my kids, you can do anything you want. One day I want you to be an entrepreneur. I don't want you in the system. I don't want you working a 9 to 5, because I know I see how it like, ruins the family dynamic. Really, I wanted to be that example for them. So I just want to, yeah, encourage any mom that anyone can do this, right? There are so many people with way less skills than what you have, who are making way more money than you, just because they're putting in the effort, just because they chose to step outside their comfort zone, just because they had that bravery, right? And just remember, you don't have to have the skills right away. You don't have to have the confidence right away. You didn't in anything. You didn't when you first had your first baby. You didn't when you got behind the seat of a car the first time. You don't have that confidence, but the bravery comes first. You got to step outside. You got to make that bold decision, and then just take one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, and everything will start to fall into place.
No, and just to piggyback off that too, there is also something kids. There's that famous saying, "More is caught than taught." So, the kids when they're watching you, no matter what you're saying, they're going to end up learning more about when they're watching you than they are when they're listening to you speak. But also,
Right.
there is something too about having your own. Whether let's say you're in the most loving relationship, your husband's not doing that. It's also a freeing sense to know that hey, this is what I'm making, this is what I'm contributing, and also, like you said, it doesn't take. I mean, let's go to high ticket sales. It's just communication. That's
Yeah.
really that's all it is. So anyone can really pick up the phone, whether it's cold call, however you're getting your leads, and have those conversations. But it does start with you taking that first step of understanding, hey, I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone here. It may be hard, like you said, the first 8 months were really slow for you. But if you keep putting yourself out there, you keep trying,
Mhm.
eventually it does start to come in.
Mhm.
Now, when it comes to making money online, you have TikTok affiliate people can make money. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. Personally, with my brother's daughter and my sister's daughter, their babies, and I'm constantly, you're the best high ticket saleswoman in the world. You're the best high ticket saleswoman in the world because that's the path I want them to take. Uh, Now they're not my kids, so I don't get any real say in it, but that is what I want them to do. But I think that when it comes to homeschooling moms who maybe came from the 9 to 5, what is the biggest change you've seen in your life when you took that leap compared to just accepting, okay, well, I'm just going to waitress. And I'm sure if COVID maybe didn't happen, that would have still
Mhm.
been the path you're on. What is the biggest change in your life with your kids to the life you're living now by getting outside of your comfort zone and taking that step?
Oh my gosh. Like literally my life is completely different. Every single aspect of my life is different. Like I said, my husband and
Mm.
me used to work opposite shifts. I never saw him. Well, guess what? 18 months into my business, I started making as much as he was in a year in a single month in my business.
Oh no.
Yeah. He was
That's
able to put
amazing.
in his 2 weeks at 35 years old, and he had been climbing that corporate ladder for 13 years. So again, just a comparison, he had been climbing that corporate ladder for 13 years in the business in that company. He got in, he started promotion after promotion after promotion. He just started making six figures a year. And then I come in, this homeschool mom with no sales experience, no online experience, but I saw what was possible with this industry and with this possibilities that we have in front of us with a phone in our hand and social media and everything that we have. I saw the vision and I jumped right in and started making his yearly income in a month. And it's just absolutely crazy. So not only was my husband able to quit his 9 to 5, and now not only do my kids have a homeschool mom, they have a homeschool dad. We
That's
literally together every day. They learned from both me and him. We traveled the world. So before we started, there was no travel. That travel is so expensive. Even if we could afford it, my husband only got 2 weeks off a year, right? So we actually just got back from our 3 months away. We go to Mexico now every year, January, February, March. And
wow.
we spend our winters there because it's actually -40 here where I am in Canada, in case you didn't realize how cold it was.
Ooh.
Yeah, it gets super, super
Oh,
cold.
oh
Wow, I thought it was
no.
bad here.
Oh,
That's no fun. That's no fun to homeschool
Oh
in, right?
no.
Yeah, so
No.
we get to spend our winters there. We're literally in the ocean every day. We're just spending that time together. We're no longer financially stressed. Like literally I drove this van, a Dodge Grand Caravan. This thing literally broke down, I swear, every month. At one point, literally the axle fell out of my van onto the road and caused like a huge pile up. It's because it's like that was the only vehicle I could afford. Like, how stressful is that? Every single time you're on the road, you're wondering if it's going to break down. You're literally causing accidents. Every time it breaks down, you're draining your bank account again and again and again. It's just like the cycle where every time we seem to get ahead, something would happen. The vehicle would break down, the furnace would break down, something would drain the meager savings that we managed to save because it's impossible to get ahead when your income is tied to your hourly wage. You can only work so many hours. So you have to find a way where your income can continue to climb even when you're not working, right? So, now we have over 7 figures in investments and savings. And that was something that would never have happened with a $25,000 a year waitress income and 100 grand a year income. It just wasn't going to happen. So like literally every aspect, we travel, we're together, we're, financially set up. Our kids, the most important thing obviously is that our kids have both parents with them together. Who gets that?
yeah, no, that's amazing. That's a blessing. And also, like you said, though, whether they they're afraid to take that leap, life is gonna be hard. Like you
Yep.
said, you're gonna have different. But if they take
Yeah.
that leap, it's gonna be hard. But at least on the back end, and don't
Yes.
money doesn't solve all your problems. So it's not like it's gonna make your life's gonna be super easy. But it's gonna, no matter which path you're choosing, it's gonna be hard. You might as well choose the hard path that's gonna actually have a lot more return than
Exactly.
just like you said, you're just in a loop of getting ahead, back to square one, getting ahead, back to square one. Now, when it comes to on the sales and communication, I would imagine that this is a skill you're kind of implementing into at least your kids to where they have that skill. What are you doing now compared to like what they're doing in the traditional school system that's kind of evolving the skills and the values for your kids compared to what they would have got in the school system?
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, literally in every single way, right? Like our kids, I know one of the questions you had was, what's the curriculum you use? We don't use a curriculum. We literally
Nice.
let our children, lead by their passions and their interests because that's what else can we do as parents but help them to foster their passions in life and like their true skills, right? Like what's that saying? A kid who's bad in math, but great in tennis. Most people would hire a math tutor. I'd rather hire a tennis coach, right? It's like let's work
Mm.
I
with these.
love that.
Yeah, it's like work with these unique. Every child, every human being on the earth is unique. So let's like play on that. Like let's really help them to build and foster these unique skills and passions that they have why not, right? You don't
Mhm.
remember the dates and the whatever you did in elementary school? Absolutely not. What most people remember is the fact that they were forced to learn these things that they don't even want to learn, that they're not even interested in. So for us, that's like a huge thing that we're able to do with our kids. Literally we just say, what do you want to learn today? What's interesting you today? My son is really into building and engineering and all those sort of things. So we really foster that. We have like all these sort of engineering like kits that come to the house and projects with Lego, and he loves it. He
Yep.
loves school every day. Why? Because we're only helping him to build on what he already loves and is good at. So yeah, for me, I've just never found a curriculum that can do that, or that will do that. So for us, it's just really how can we work with our kids individually to make sure that they feel seen, heard, their learning is fun and they stay interested in it, so that one day they can, really create, hopefully, in my perfect world, a business that can not only they will enjoy, but help people and also be able to make a great income from that. Like, I think that's everyone's dream, right? Who wouldn't want to make money in a way that helps people and also that they love doing every single day? So that's really our goal.
Yeah, and even like you said though too, for myself at least, and I know for my brother and my sister, and I'm sure Beth as well, education doesn't necessarily mean sitting in the classroom learning, these specific things. For me, education is everything in life. When you get
Mhm.
older, your education shouldn't stop. You should be constantly learning, expanding. And I think by you guys focusing in, let's say your son who's big into engineering and building, he's developing a passion for learning that he can put anywhere into his life. It's a skill. It's not something that he's going to be a better learner. He's going to be a better person when it comes off to, okay, when I go into the world, I need to learn this. He's going to know how to learn better than he would if he just sat there and memorized history, or, okay, I'm going to memorize how to do this math formula. I feel like the skill of actually learning comes from the kid being immersed and looking for a problem. Okay, now this is I gotta go find this answer here. I gotta ask this question to see how to do this here. So I think the way you guys are doing it is actually fostering the love of learning better than it would be just sitting in front of a computer saying, "Hey, today you're going to read for in America. Let's say you're going to read about the Civil War." You know what I mean? It's you're really
Mhm.
developing the learning skill rather
Oh
than
yeah.
just making them become someone that memorizes information. Now, when it comes to those 8 months, now the world's locked down. We got all this nonsense going on, and I think in Canada it might have been even a little more severe than it was here in Florida. Uh, what what was going through your like? What's the truth about battling through those 8 months to find the success on the opposite end? Because we kind of paint the picture of, hey, it's an amazing life over here, but there's going to be a time frame where it's probably going to suck. You know,
Hmm.
so during those 8 months, how did you keep waking up every day saying, no, I'm going to do this when you weren't seeing that six-figure month that you're seeing now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of things. I truly do feel that a superpower of mine is being able to make it fun.
Okay.
I'm not the type of
Okay.
person who takes myself too seriously. I'm totally okay with laughing at myself, like knowing that I made a fool of myself and just picking myself up and going. So that's what I really try to foster to the people that I'm coaching and mentoring, right? Stop taking yourself so seriously. It doesn't have to be this grind. It doesn't have to be, if it's not fun, then what's the point? You didn't start this to, you didn't start this to be miserable and hate what you're doing, right? Just have fun in the learning. And I think just giving yourself that grace in that time frame to just being okay, I'm going to give myself permission to be a beginner, to be a student, to learn the things that I need to do, right? And then as you learn those skills, then obviously everything's going to become easier and better as you go. So I think that number one. I think number two, just having a really, like blindsided vision on what I wanted my life to look like and letting nothing get in the way. Like letting nothing get in the way. This was my plan A and there was no plan B, C, D, E, F, G. It was only this. So I just had those blinders on and knowing that I didn't care how long it took me. I know that I was going to make it happen. So really that belief in myself of just knowing if I just put one foot in front of the other, learn from the people who have done this before. I had mentors, I had coaches who were making six figures, seven figures. So why wouldn't I also? I just always was I always just had such a strong belief that if I just learn from the people who've gone before me, I'm going to do it as well. Like, of course I am. And then I think as well, just, one thing I say to people if they're like, oh, I haven't had the results yet or this or that. And I always just say, well, can you truly honestly say, if you look yourself in the eye right now in the mirror and say, am I doing everything I need to do? Am I doing that non-negotiable DMO checklist every single day for your business? And if you're not, well, then you really have no excuse. Like, what you got to do. So for me, when I did do that, and it's been 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, I could honestly say to myself that I had done everything I needed to do that day to move the
Yep.
needle forward in my business. So I would just, okay, then I just got to keep doing the things. And there's times where, like, yeah, I thought I would make a sale by now, or I thought things would like take off by now, and they didn't. But I just had to stop and think, okay, but am I doing everything? Yeah, I am. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to do that. And I know that everything is going to start to spitball and snowball, right? Like, we really are, like, especially in high ticket sales, it is way different than low ticket sales because you have to build trust in your audience and in your following and in your leads before they want to buy from you. And so for a lot of people, that's time. And because we're selling high ticket items, the time you got to put in is a lot more than if you're selling a $20, $30, $100 item. So for me, it's just like, you got to have that realistic mindset of what this is and how it's different than things maybe people have done before. Just knowing I'm just going to continue to show up. And if people just see me continuing to show up and I build that trust and all that sort of stuff, then it's just simply going to work. And it did.
No, it did. And I got one question and then one kind of statement from what you just said. So the statement is that that mentality you had of I'm going to do whatever it takes. I see that a lot in homeschooling moms when it comes to making homeschooling successful. So I want the moms to understand that they have that ability already
Yes.
built inside of them. If they could just learn to channel it somewhere else, they're going to
Yes.
find the same success. Because even growing up, like my mom, like we understood that the mission was to stay homeschooling. So that meant, hey, you can't talk to her during this time frame, or why is dad gone at 4 o'clock in the morning, not coming back till 6? It's so we can do this right here. So a lot of times the moms have it. Hang on, once this, you guys still there?
Yep.
Yep.
It just froze up on me. All right. Basically they have that in there, so if they can learn to just translate it over, I feel like they already have the skills needed to go through
Mhm.
that hard time to build something. And then the question was, what was your husband's take when you decided to go on this? Was he supportive of you? Did he see the vision for those 8 months? Was it something that you had to keep battling through? What was that like when you were going through that time frame?
Yeah, for sure. So, very grateful for my husband because he is like the most supportive husband in the world. He right away, he didn't see the vision. He absolutely didn't. Like, it was like, okay,
Which is
like,
understandable. Which is
yeah,
understandable.
yeah,
Yeah,
totally, exactly, right. And that's what, and again, I'll come back to the question, but quick side note, I can't, like, this is so important as well. When you have a vision, stop trying to force everyone else to see it.
it's
It's not
not gonna happen.
Mm.
not for them to see. Like, God,
Exactly.
God put this vision on your heart for a reason. He didn't put it on his heart or her heart or anyone else's heart, right? Stop trying to take people's, who don't have the life that you want. Stop taking their opinion for a life that you like. Why are you taking the opinion of someone whose life you would never trade places with, right? So anyways, he definitely did not see the vision, but he saw the passion that I had for it. He saw how excited I was. Like I said, it was not, we had never done anything like this. We weren't investor people. We weren't like business entrepreneur people. Like, we both grew up really broke, two parents, who did not have a lot of money. So we had to really battle through our own financial mindset and really start to see a bigger vision for our lives. And that was really hard for us. It was really scary. But yeah, he was super supportive and has been this entire time. I literally built a multi seven figure business on my kitchen table. I didn't have an office. I actually have an office now, which is really nice. This is we
Are you
my
balling?
house. Yeah, so my son got a room downstairs, so this became my office. I literally just got this. Like, I built, you don't need fancy equipment. You don't need anything other than a drive, a cell phone, maybe a computer to in order to make something like this work. But yeah, he supported me 100% of the way. You know, if I had calls or whatever, he would take, like, I didn't have a closed door office. He would literally take the kids into the basement for hours so I could do my work upstairs. Yeah, definitely the most supportive person I could ever imagine. So if you don't have that support at home, you know, I think it's very important, again, not to expect them to understand, but also don't go asking for permission. Again, like, we are, yes, you're a marriage, of course, and I respect that 100%, but I feel like a lot of moms will go to their husbands like, oh, can I do this? You know, do you give me the permission to do it? As opposed to saying, you know what, honey, I have this vision for our life and our family, and this is not it. I need
Hmm.
your support here. And just tell them, tell them
Yep.
what you need, tell them what you want, and really demand that respect for yourself, because we're not stuck here as moms, helpless, you know, yeah, not contributing to the family financially, not happy, never seeing your husband, everything's stressful. You don't have to take that, but you also don't have to take the fact that maybe he's not going to support it, right? Like, you go to him with that commanding respect and tell them that this is what you're going to do, and just do it.
And I'll say from the male side of it, you know, even like when it comes to my girlfriend now, like the ability when she comes to me and say, "Hey, this is what I want or this is what I need," it's easier for me to be
Yes.
like, "Okay, yeah, I can do that," rather than saying if they're coming, "Oh, do you want to do this?" If you just say, "Hey, this is what I want and need," for a man, it's a lot easier. Like, okay, yeah, no, I can give that to you. You know what I mean? I just need to
100%.
know beforehand what we're doing. You know, maybe it's just our
You're
limit.
asking him to, yeah, to make the decision and to think about
Yeah,
it.
no, just come and
Stuff
say, "Hey, this is what I want."
exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
just give him to him. He just wants to say yes.
Okay, now when it comes to one of your posts you have talking about screen time. Now, I'm a huge advocate for getting kids away from the screens. I believe that a kid who grows up off screens can really develop their brain to whenever they start using screens, whether it's their phones, their computers, will have a better mind to be able to use those things as a tool rather than just some sort of entertainment. So, how do you guys limit the screen time and what does that look like in your household? Because obviously you're making money on the screens.
Mhm.
What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, for me, it's just so easy for our family because it's just never been an option, right? We just never
Mm.
given our kids screens. So I feel like a lot of moms out there just like blown away, like, how could you possibly ever do that, right? But for us, it's just that's how they don't know any different.
Yep.
So they never ask. It's not an option. It's just never something that we've introduced. So not to say, obviously, they're never on a screen. You know, Saturdays, Sundays is the only time they'll get TV time, an hour in the morning, so that mom and dad can sleep in a little bit. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, again, so they know Saturday, Sunday morning for an hour, that's TV time. So they don't ask for it on Monday or Tuesday. Like, it's just not something that they would ever do because they just wouldn't even think that would be a possibility. And I think it's interesting now, obviously, because as our world, like you said, is getting more online, our kids are getting older, right? So we're not quite sure how to go about that yet, as far as, you know, even learning online or like online programs and stuff like that. I'm absolutely not against screens in general. Like you said, I literally make a seven-figure income from a screen, which is fantastic, but kind of learning how to navigate that as kids get older, and how that looks like is something we're going to have to do. But like I said, my kids are still pretty young. So right now we've been able to avoid it altogether and completely. And I just, yeah, one encouragement to parents is like they just don't, they literally just don't need it.
They don't.
And I really think one thing that that parents think that their kids saying I'm bored is a bad thing, and that
Mm.
they instantly have to fill that boredom with something. But the like the magic is in the boredom. Like,
Yep.
that's where kids really start to learn and problem, like you said, problem solve, and they're figuring out their own boredom, right?
Yep.
I think we as a society have now come to the conclusion that boredom is a bad thing, when really that's how kids played this entire time up until screens were even invented, right? They invented their own games. They got sticks, they got this, they got that. And I just really see my children very well regulated, very emotionally regulated. Like, truly, we don't have temper tantrums, we don't have attitude, we don't have any of that sort of stuff. And I really do attribute it to the fact that they just never owned a screen.
No, I think that's true too. And also you'll see it in adults. You know, I can even look at some of my friends who, you know, growing up, they were always dreamers, big plans. They want to do this, they want to do that. And then they kind of got to where we're in our 20s now, and they get lost in Instagram, TikTok, watching YouTube stuff, watching the next Netflix series that came out, and they don't understand that that life that they had imagined for themselves is in their imagination. So stop filling that time with the screens and let your imagination get to work. Allow you to start thinking bigger compared to just, okay, well, I'm bored. I'm going to watch this Netflix series. Sit in that boredom, figure out, okay, what can I do? I think that even just for adults, limiting their own screen time can make a massive impact in their life. But for kids, I've also seen that when it comes to learning online compared to learning on a textbook, there's like way more retention compared to learning on the tension than or on paper than there is to learning on a screen. Probably because our brains are just wired from years of learning like that.
Yes.
It's better. But I do, when it comes to they're getting older now, what are going to be some things that, you kind of instill into them that when they leave the household that you kind of hope they have still?
hmm well, we talk a lot about, and they're it's so cute. They're like fascinated by this topic, but we talk a lot about victim mindset and growth mindset.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think honestly, if any kid can grow up just knowing the difference between those two and
Yep.
really growing up trying to express the skills of someone who does not live in victim mindset and lives in a growth mindset. Like what else can we do for our kids? Like that's everything. That's resilience, that's
Yep.
confidence. That's everything that you need to be successful in life. And if you can start to recognize, right, and I'll point it out, just like I've had my mentors and my coaches and my husband point out to me, like, oh, it seems like you're a little bit in victim mindset right there. It feels like you're a little bit in fixed mindset, like, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that. And really instilling in them how important it is to just know that if you persevere through any situation, you will always find the solution. Like you always will. There's never been a time or anyone pretty much in history has not found the solution to a problem. Right. And I think it's super cool because my son, yeah, like I said, he loves engineering. So there's a thing called Crunch Labs. There's this engineer named Mark Rober. Anyways, he's really cool. And he has all these YouTube videos. So now he has this company where he does all these cool engineering kits for the kids. So, anyways, my son loves writing letters. So he writes letters to everyone, anyone. So he wrote a letter to Crunch Labs. So they came back with a letter, and it was just so beautiful for because I say this to my kid all the time, but then for him to hear it from his from Mark Rober and the Crunch Labs crew, where they just said that we're engineers. What does that mean? It means that we're going to make mistakes. We're going to fail over and over and over until we find, that prototype that works or for that thing that works, and if you just know, if you just push through, and I was reading this like tears in my eyes, like this is just so perfect for a kid to read from one of his heroes to know that that's just normal. And I really feel like people have this fear of failing. And it's like, if we don't fail, we will never fly. You have to fail over and over. You should be proud of failing because most people don't even try, right? So if you've failed 100 times, well, you failed more than most people even tried to do anything at all. So just knowing that, I think if we can just instill that in every child, just knowing that they have everything they need, right? They as long as they just keep trying, don't give up, they know they will find a solution. Literally everything is at their disposal and nothing can't work out for them. So that's, one of our number one things that we really try to do with our kids at home.
No, I love that. And also, if they understand that every failure brings them one step closer to that success, that, like, okay, it's not a bad thing because now I know I'm one step closer here. Now, when it comes to your coaching platform, what are like the big like things you kind of focus on? Is it mindset? Is it ability to build, connection with the people you're talking to? What do you kind of focus on that helps the individuals? Do you work with men and women or just women?
Yeah, we do work with men and women. Yeah, we
Okay,
have
so what
everyone in the platform. Yeah,
per
so a couple things. Well, yeah, mindset is a huge part of it. Absolutely. I really do feel a huge part of entrepreneurship and anything in general is mindset. You can have all the skills, but if you're stuck in a fixed mindset where every time you come across a challenge or an obstacle, then any skills or any trainings we put in front of you are just not going to work.
yep,
So you really have to have that entrepreneurial mindset and knowing that you got to put in a lot of time up front in order to see the return. This isn't a 9 to 5. You're not going to put in 2 weeks and get a paycheck, 2 weeks and get a paycheck. You might put in 2 years and never see a paycheck, right? But you got to have that long-term vision. But anyways, we focus a lot on that. The main thing that we do and teach is the skill of paid ads.
Mhm.
in order to gain customers, as opposed to, again, more low ticket situations where you might be talking to friends or like throwing a product party or demo, or doing that sort of thing. We run paid ads over social media in order to generate leads, in order to make sales. So obviously that expands your network beyond what you could possibly do in your own city or even your own country. So yeah, we really focus on that skill, because I do feel like that's the difference for most businesses between a success and a fail, is if you have learned the skills of paid ads and how to generate leads 24/7, right? Because you can only talk to so many people. You can only,
Yep.
even if you're cold messaging or whatever you're doing, you only can do that for so long. But if you put up an ad, it's running 24/7 when you're sleeping, when you're eating, when you're
Yep.
living your life, and all those sort of things. And then, of course, along with the automated ads, we also teach the automated sales funnel system. So someone can come in, see an ad, go through, purchase without you even being around. So really focusing on that skill of automation. And then obviously everything that comes along with sales. So, verbiage, confidence, the power of persuasion, right? Which a lot of people are so uncomfortable with the idea of sales. But all sales really is solving a problem.
Yep.
Never had someone pissed at me for giving me a large amount of money for my product because I solved a huge problem in their life. They're thanking me. Like I literally still get messages all the time, hundreds of people. Thank you so much for this, because I needed it and you came along and solved my problem, right? So if you really can switch your mindset from, sorry, it's my dog's barking. I don't know if you can hear that. If you can switch your mindset from sales being, yeah, an icky thing, and really see it for what it is, as you are just simply solving someone's problem, then that's when sales really starts to become fun.
No, I think that's a good thing too for especially the moms, because really when we had you at this, it was kind of I was picturing it towards the moms, but even the dads listening to this, if you work with men too, understanding that sales is not this slimy thing like it used to be. In
No.
today's age, if you screw someone over, they can tell the whole world about it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Exactly.
not like you actually have to solve a problem, and
Yeah.
it is an avenue that can really change your life. You're a perfect example of this. If you do it, you've solved enough problems, you're going to be paid accordingly. Um, when it comes to the women you're working with now, what are you seeing the average, you know, time spent during the day to get to the result? Is it you have to work 10 hours a day? Is it something that you have to do a couple hours a day? What would be like for the moms, the time frame they can expect to put into beforehand?
Yep.
Obviously, you got the window of waiting, but that time frame that they can expect to, okay, now I'm off and rolling. What does my day look like? What is like the average time span, kind of that's taken up work time?
Yep. So I tell people, if you have 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day is a really good starting point. And you don't need more than that. If you can put more than that, of course, then do
Yep.
it. And you're going to take off even faster, right? But if you have 2 hours a day, and I've heard it time and time again, well, I don't have the time. I'm busy. I'm a homeschool mom, all this sort of stuff. Well, I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homeschool moms who are making this work, right? So you just have to decide, where can you sacrifice, or if it's even worth it to you to sacrifice. Because if you're very comfortable right now, then maybe it's not that important to you, and that's okay.
Yep.
But if you are in that position where you cannot live like this any longer and you want to make a change, or you're going to have to sacrifice in certain areas of your life, right? So what's it going to be? Wake up an hour earlier. For me, I built my business when my daughter was 1 and my son was 4. Okay, so
Wow.
I definitely know what it's like to build when you have toddlers at home and
Yep.
babies. Like, 1 year old, they're still a baby. So for me, it was nap times. My daughter would go for a nap. My son was 4. He was not napping anymore, but he knew this was mommy's work time. He got a toy in the corner. Like I said, there's no screens. Toy in the corner, a snack. Hey, bud, this is mommy's work time. You're playing over here by yourself. So, it started out, maybe I get 20 minutes, maybe 25, half an hour, to the point, a good hour. He would sit there and play, and it was great. So I do my work, and then guess what? They go to bed. They're children. They go to bed pretty early. You got time. So I go, they're in bed by 7 o'clock. I'm working 7 to 9 on my business. And for me, entrepreneurship is really just people who are willing to put in work now to see the reward later, and live a life that a lot of people are not going to be able to live, just because they're willing to put in work that most people aren't willing to. So, yeah, you really don't need more than that. You can sacrifice a couple things, whether that be, yeah, your Netflix or your this or that. I can guarantee you most people are doom scrolling 2 hours a day.
Yep.
Guarantee
Yep.
you. So it's like, if you want to trade that for a skill that can literally make you millions of dollars, for me, it's been very, very worth it.
I understand that. Now, when it comes to the getting, say a mom comes to you, right? She has zero sales experience. She comes in, what all can she expect to kind of like undergo with you when she's coming into the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, you're going to go through what we call our business launch course. So this is
Okay.
like step by step training support system. So you go through, you learn how to set up your social media, how to set up an ad, all that sort of stuff that you need, the technical stuff. So again, you don't need to be techie. You don't need to know how to do anything. We step you. It's follow through video. You can see on the screen, follow along what to do. So that's your first step. That usually takes a couple weeks for people to go through. By the time they're done, they have a social media set up, they have ads up and running, and they're good to go. Ongoing support. So that includes calls with me. So we do weekly calls with me and my crew. So whether that be me specifically or someone on my team who's making 10, 20, 30K months, coming out and teaching you what's working and what's not. I also run this platform with like a larger group of leaders, seven-figure earners. So we come out 2 times a week for like our larger community and doing calls and trainings there. We do events a couple times a year to come out and learn and meet us and get to meet other people with the same dream and vision and career path that you're on. So yeah, it's really great because what I see a lot of people do is they'll try to start something online and they buy a course and then that's it. Right. Then they have a question, where do they turn? They're also in chats with me. So I have a whole Telegram like support system. So you're also in chats with me as well. So you're never left alone. So that I think is what really sets what we do apart. Because you're not just buying a course, like go figure it out. I had a lot of people who have come to me who've done stuff like Amazon, trying to do an Amazon business, took them a full year to even get a product up. There's no support, there's no nothing. And they come here and they're like, holy crap, I get to speak to people. I get to like ask questions. I get on trainings. So yeah, we really fully support the people that we're working with in order to see them succeed. And I've never seen anything like that from what we do.
Oh, and also something just to kind of extend what you said there, learning how to run paid ads. Let's say for some reason you find out sales is not for you, but that skill alone,
Yes.
you can build a business around.
Oh yeah.
In you, if you can learn to run paid ads, you can build a business around that. So even if the mom or dad doesn't feel the calling for sales, there is still a lot of money to be made just off that first skill that you're teaching them right there.
100%. And it's like there's all these skills that, like you said, as an adult, why you just stop learning? Like there's so many things and skills that we can learn as adults to keep in front of the times and like really contribute and to work our brains and all this sort of stuff. So, like you said, I have so many people who come in and they'll learn this skill. So not only now they're running this business, but it helps them with something else. Like they have another little side gig or they have taken on now other ads clients who like want, it's just like you can really build so many different things with the skills that you learn from paid ads, social media, sales. It all is everything is sales. Everything is sales. I know people don't like to think that, but it's
Oh, it
true.
is. It
Everything
is.
is sales,
It
right?
is.
People say, "Oh, I don't want to do sales," but then they're posting on their social. Oh, look at these jeans I just got. Like I got them from here. Like, do you want the? And I'm like, you're doing sales, but you're doing it for free.
I love that. Now, what
Yeah.
does it look like? Because you kind of already said you put the toy, which A should be an eye-opening moment for a lot of parents that, hey, it's even if you're working, you shouldn't be throwing your kids in front of the screen. Your
Yeah.
kid at 4 years old was able to entertain himself and allow you to
Yeah.
build this life. But what does it look like during your day now? Are you how long are you working for? Like, what does your day look like now in the
Mhm.
day to day?
Yeah, so now I would say in my day to day, I probably work about 4 hours a day. I mean, keep in mind I have my husband at home and this is my everything, right? Like we don't do anything else. My husband now helps on the back end of my business. I'm running this larger training platform. I have a lot of stuff going on. So I personally work about 4 hours a day. So we usually do, our mornings as a family, get up. We usually do a workout. The kids are watching or joining in, breakfast. Then we do homeschool till, about 10 or 11 or so. Then I'll usually work a couple hours in there from 11 till 12 or till 1 or 2. Usually in the afternoons we'll go out and do some sort of adventure as a family, nature walk, anything like that, dinner, and then I'll do a couple hours of work again in the evening. And it's like I can't think of anything better because I love it. I truly enjoy what I do. And then also what I love about stuff like this is that you're not separating your work from your kids. You know, my
Mm.
kids will pop in. I'll be doing a sales call. They're in there, listening.
Yep.
They're asking me, my son helps my husband with our accounting and our taxes and all that sort of stuff. So
No
he's
way,
Oh
really?
yeah, he loves inputting like our expenses and like all that sort of stuff. So he's doing that. We have mentors, like 7, 8 figure mentors that come up for our community. My son loves like he's just absorbing everything. He just comes in, he's listening, and he's like, oh yeah, that guy. Like I love what he said here, and they're just so involved, right? So I love that about homeschool in general, and I think entrepreneurship just ties in perfectly with homeschooling because everything is together. Everything is as a family. Like they're learning what you're doing. And like I said, they're learning by watching. You can tell them
Hmm.
everything in the world, but what they're doing is absorbing, seeing what their parents are doing, and that
Yep.
we are really stepping outside of the norms of society to create something for our family. And so then one day when they want to do it, I'll actually be able to support them because I've done it myself, right? I'm not going to be like, "Good job, honey." Like, no, I'll be like, do you need help with your ads? Do you need help with sales skills? Do you need help running your business? Because I've done it before. And that's what I'm so proud of me and my husband for, because we're truly leading by example for our kids, and we're going to be a massive resource to them, right? Like I didn't get that from my parents. All I got, I got scarcity mindset and like debt from them. Not I love them, but like that's what I
Yep.
got from them in that capacity. They didn't know any of this stuff. They didn't step outside their comfort zone. They didn't have, the confidence to create a better life for their kids. So for us, I'm just like so proud of that for us so that my kids can continue on in that path and knowing I literally watched my mom do this from the time I was 4. I know
Yep.
I can do this,
Yep.
and being able to support them on that path as well. I just think it's just so incredible.
And there's two things that I kind of they're a little bit of a question, I guess. You said one, great working out in the morning with your family. That is one of the things that I am most thankful to my mom. She woke us up every day, 7 o'clock, 7:30. We had to go run 3 miles, 100 push-ups, 100 pull-ups. Yes,
No.
yes, 5 days a week. And
Wow. I
before
got to step up my game.
no, no, you're doing it right. Because just the fact that my mom was committed to herself with working out, it just kind of embedded into me that that's part of life. You know what I mean? It was never something from an early age, like 13, I was going to the gym, just because now I didn't see much rewards from it. I'm still skinny here, but it's something that just by watching her doing it and her incorporating it into our day, that it's just something that we do. Like even to this day, my brother does CrossFit. My sister's a world champion Muay Thai fighter. She's always running, training, so it's a matter that it was just part of life. So great job with you guys modeling it for him there. But you just went through a routine pretty much. How important is it to finding success as the homeschooling mom, but also as a businesswoman yourself, to have a routine to fall back on compared to just waking up every day? What do I have to do today?
Totally. No, absolutely. And I think, and it's funny you say that because I feel like in general, as a person, like I'm a very type B, if you haven't like noticed personality, I'm just kind of like, wow. And like whatever comes my way, I'll do it. But at the end of the day, yes, if you're going to be running a business, like you have to be setting aside the time and you have to be scheduling that in and you have to be sacrificing in different areas and different things going on. So for me, yeah, following into that, as far as the chunks go, right, or homeschool time, that's flexible. You don't have to
Yep.
now is English or now is math. Like that's definitely, I don't think the philosophy of homeschool anyway. So that's very flexible, but being able to, yeah, you got to pencil in that time. So what does that look like for you? And for most homeschool moms, right, you're going to kind of work off the schedules of your kids. So are your kids still napping? Is lunchtime you can set aside their sandwich and go get some work done? Like what does that look like for you? Work it into your daily life, so that you're not sitting there at 9 o'clock. Oh crap, I haven't done anything for my business today because you just simply haven't set aside that time and schedule it in ahead of time.
No, I love that. And then I've seen you posted something about like showing mutual respect in the household. What does that look like? And then also, how do parents implement it into their life right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think yeah, it's just so especially because me and my husband are now literally together 24/7. Right? So I think that's more important than ever. But for me, I grew up in a household where it was mom against dad. And it
Mm.
was like, oh, if dad said no, we'll go ask mom. And if mom said no, and we'll leave them to deal with the fallout of them
Yeah.
being on the same team, right? But for us, it's so important to be a team and to be a united front for our kids, just knowing that, we're doing this together, right? Parenting is us working as a team together, and it's not one against one another to create harmony in the home, right? Again, modeling what you want one day your kids' marriage to look like in every single way. We're trying to model what we want our kids' life to look like every single day, right? And that includes our marriage and that includes our relationship. So again, there's no yelling, there's no name calling, there's no nothing like that, coming to modeling to them what it looks like when we do have a disagreement. They've seen us have a disagreement, and that's okay because we're not yelling and screaming and throwing things at each other. We're handling it what like two adults would do, them watching, knowing, okay, it's okay to have a disagreement with someone you love, but how do you go about that? And hopefully modeling that with brother and sister one day. They haven't got there yet. Still a lot of yelling and screaming, but they'll get there.
Yes, yes. Well, I'll tell you that my sister and I did a lot of yelling and screaming at each other, but we're still best friends now. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's, it's a part of it. Um, okay, and then we're kind of wrapping up here. What I would like you to do is, where can moms, if this sounds interesting, that they want to try it out, where can they find you at?
Yeah, definitely. Well, they can check me out on Instagram at samara.j.rempel. That's
Yeah.
my username. So I mostly run my business off Instagram, so you can just find me there. You can go through if you want. What I do is have a little 36-minute intro video on exactly what I do. So again, part of that automation, right? So if people want to know what I do, I just send them a 36-minute video that goes through what high ticket sales, paid ads, the coaching and mentorship they receive, and go through there. So you can literally click a link and watch that if you want to. Find me on Facebook, the same name, Samara Rempel. Yeah, shoot me a message, say hi. I love just connecting with homeschool parents in general.
Mhm.
If high ticket sales is not your thing, totally respect that. It's not going to be everyone's thing, but how else can I help you? How else can I
Yes.
serve support you? Can I give you some resources? Can we just chat and encourage each other? That's what I love about social media when you use it for good, and you use it as a tool, just really connecting. I've made so many incredible connections with homeschool parents, just sharing resources and just being a support and encouragement for each other. It's just amazing. So yeah, definitely feel free to give me a follow or give me a message and shout me out and connect on social media.
I love that. Now, before we get off, because I recognize I didn't have you do it at the beginning and I wanted to, people hear high ticket sales, they understand you're selling a higher ticket product. Okay, what is though the high ticket sales that you're working with? Is it other coaches? Is it like what is it so the parents understand? They hear high ticket sales, I'm sure they imagine what it is, but what exactly is it? If you could clarify it for someone that may be a little confused.
Yeah, like the actual product I work with.
The product you work with or other people doing high ticket sales and the products they work with, just giving them kind of like a baseline overview of what a high ticket sales is.
Yeah, yeah. So high ticket sales is like you said, anything that's a premium product. So it's going to be something that's a higher priced item. So as opposed
Mhm.
to like we talked about before, like a cheap item that might be $5 or $10. So now you're putting in the same amount of effort I am for a $5 commission. I'm literally putting the same amount of effort as people that I know in low ticket sales. And
Mhm.
I'm making $8,000 a sale, and they're making 10.
It's
It's no harder. It's no different. You're literally putting in the same amount of work. And I would actually argue it's easier because since you're making a higher payout, you're actually able to invest in your business in paid ads and in these sort of things where you can't afford to do that, quite frankly, when you're only making $10 commission. You can't afford to run ads. But when you're making $8,000 a sale, you can easily afford to run ads because every single sale that you make is a higher payout. So yeah, there's a lots of different options in the high ticket sales world. But for me, it's like I said, my experience, I had that with serving low ticket sales and high ticket sales. I saw the difference. It just made sense. You're just solving a bigger problem for a different person, and you're just getting paid better to do it.
And I will say also from our business, the marine service business, getting the dude who, $5,000 is not a lot of money to say yes compared to the household that $5,000 is going to be a massive chunk that they weren't really expecting. It's an easier sale for me with the ultra
Yeah,
wealthy compared to this where just I'm just like trying to fight and claw to get that money for them. So I'd imagine it's the same when you're selling a premium product. You're not
yep,
dealing with the person's going into understanding, hey, this is going to be money. You know what I mean? Compared to the lower ticket where you're trying to fight and claw. Maybe they have it, maybe they don't. I feel like it would be easier to work with those people. They might need a little bit more attention.
totally.
When it comes to the boats, they need a lot more attention. But at the end of the day, it's better to work with that person than the person that's just barely getting by, that kind of maybe it's a gift to themselves compared to the person that's okay, $5,000, $6,000, here you go. You know, it is what it is. So
Totally. And you also, people don't realize you need way less sales, right? You know, say your goal is to make a $10,000 month. That was my goal when I came in. I thought if I could make a $10,000 month, our lives would change. And it would have, but now I have like 10 times that and more. But say you want to make a $10,000 month. So you're selling a premium product and you make $5,000 commission, or you're selling a low ticket product and you're making $50 commission,
yep.
right? You're going to have to, what's the math? What's the math there? $50 commission for a $10,000 month is, help me out there. How much is that? Thousands of sales, okay? Thousands of sales or hundreds of sales, right? With a premium product is two sales.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Two sales. So what seems easier to you, right? Making hundreds of sales, hundreds of product order forms, hundreds of customers, all this sort of stuff. We're making two sales. So yes, you are going to make less sales, but that's literally the point, because that's what gives you your freedom back. I'm not hustling around making hundreds of sales and all these customers, unless it's two sales and you're good. It truly is just a totally different mindset and a totally different business. And it really is, for me, it really played into my values of freedom. I wanted time freedom. I wanted location freedom, financial freedom, and making hundreds of sales every single month in order to make a big income is not freedom, right? But when you use ads and automation and funnels and everything to make a couple sales and you're like sitting pretty with, you know, multiple 5-figure month, that's what called me in. And that's what we do. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun teaching people to do the same thing.
Well, Miss Samara, thank you so much for your time. I've enjoyed this. This hour completely flew by. You're an absolute rock star. I love what you and your husband are doing over there. Thank you again for coming in with
Yes,
us.
thank you so much.
So much. Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun and so nice to meet you guys.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.